Good morning.
So we're joined by 2020 graduate of Velma Jackson High School, graduate of Hines Community College, Alcorn State University, and multimedia journalist with WJTV News here in Jackson. Delesha Banks, we thank you so much again for joining us. We got a room full here at Velma Jackson. This is our Arts and AV career cluster. And we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello. Good morning, everyone. And actually, it's class of 2019.
Oh, I thought you were a COVID graduate. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not.
I
God was
missed
gracious.
that every time. I missed that every time. So, I've been here so long, my years run together. So, while you were at Velma Jackson, which it seems like yesterday, but now that's been it'll be 6 years this year. You were involved in a lot of things. You were in TSA and did a lot of things here with the Academy Multimedia. So just talk about your Velma Jackson experience and then how that translated into your Hines Community College at Utica and onto your HBCU experience at Alcorn.
Okay. Well, I'll try to keep it as short as possible and not ramble on. Um, I forgot the actual name of the academy now, but when I was there, I went all 4 years. I was a part of the class all 4 years. It was called the Digital Media Academy. So we learned all things videography, animations, Photoshop, things of that nature. And me being a part of that class since freshman year kind of sparked an interest in me when it comes to that whole realm of communications and whatever you want to call it. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after high school, but I knew I wanted to do something that involved being my creative self or something that I was one of those skills that I was learning in that class. So one year for a college fair, excuse me, a college fair that we were having at Velma Jackson, I ended up going around to all the different booths and things of that nature, and I was done. I was like, okay, let me just chill until they dismiss us. You know how they do. I don't know if they still do it like that now, but like, let me just chill until they dismiss us. So I actually sat down a few feet away from the Hines Community College table where Mr. Crisser was set up. That's the former instructor that was there um over the radio and television broadcasting department. So he actually called me out and he was like, "Hey, young lady, how are you?" And I was like, "I'm good." I was like, "Now come over here," because he had a camera. I was like, "Please don't come over here." He was like, "You look really good on my camera." And he was like, "Can you come over here and say the call letters, which is WHUC, Delesha Banks reporting for WHUC News 7." And I was like, "Well, why not? I got some time to spare. They haven't dismissed us yet." So I came over there and I said the call letters, and everyone was like clapping, and it was like, "Oh my God, you did so good." I was like, "Okay, I didn't even try, but okay." So from then on, I was just telling him about the academy that we had at Bill Jackson at the time and how great it was. And he was also telling me about the department at Hines. And I said they were very similar. And I couldn't let that afternoon go by without telling my then teacher, Miss Gowdy, about Mr. Christopher's program at Hines. So I guess it's safe to say that I kind of started that liaison between our school and their school. And he got on the advisory board for Miss Gowdy and we took a trip up there and it was like it was it from there. It was up from there.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize also Hines in Utica is also an HBCU. So you got the HBCU experience in community college. You got that great experience with Mr. Chrysler at UHC. I get that right, UHC, and
WHUC,
then yeah,
yeah.
WHEC, and then you transferred to Alcorn, where you finished your degree with a degree in mass communication. So, talk about that experience because you were getting a lot of cool internships, and you got to go a lot of places while you were in college to get that networking built for the TV industry.
Right, right. So speaking of internships, my very first internship was at Hines Community College. I was a part of the media team for the Devoted Dreamers, which is a 7-on-7 scrimmage team spearheaded by New Orleans Saints linebacker, I believe, Demario Davis. I don't watch football,
Yep.
so if he's not a
Yeah,
linebacker, don't
Demario
don't.
Davis. He's from Brandon, but yeah, you are correct.
Okay, okay. So yeah, that was amazing. One of my very close friends and I got to basically embark on that internship together, and it was amazing. Like it was basically free trips back and forth to Texas, and we just had so much fun. We made the best out of it, and those skills that we learned in the academy, because she was also in the academy as well. Those skills that we learned there, and the skills that we were learning in the radio and television broadcasting at Hines, we also got to exercise them during that internship. So that was great. And then when I got to Alcorn, of course, more internships came about. I was a part of the Great Media Television, inaugural class of the Great Media Television for WLBT. That was great. I also got to meet different students from other HBCUs like Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, you name it. Like that was pretty amazing to establish those networking skills there and to also know people from WLBT. And they see me now and I cover stories and it was like, oh, I remember you from the internship. Yeah, it's me. So that was pretty amazing. It's other programs that we were involved in, but I wouldn't necessarily call them internships, but they did provide us opportunities to travel. Like we got to travel to St. Louis and New York, all expense paid trip. Like that was pretty amazing. So like to this day, I always brag about that. So.
Yeah, and I say this in every field, no matter where you go to college or community college, it's so important to get involved in these student organizations because you can have a great GPA, but if you're not getting your name out there, you're not networking, you're not building your resume at all. So while the academics are
Mhm.
extremely important, you did a great job of that of not only getting experience, but you got your name out there. You had a great resume to prepare you for where you are now at WJTV. So,
Mhm.
so tell us about that because we looked at some of your stories. You're on camera sometimes, sometimes you're not, but you're doing, you're getting to meet a lot of interesting people, and you are all over the state covering things. So, talk a little bit about what a multimedia journalist does in the news industry.
Well, before I answer that question, I must say big shout out to my former teachers at Hines and Alcorn for basically exposing those opportunities to me and other students about those internships and things of that nature. So I couldn't have done it on my own. It's definitely my teachers and professors at the time. So thank you to y'all if y'all watching this. But woo, being a multimedia journalist, just saying the word, it sounds so complex and because it really is like it's not I always say it all the time, it's not for the weak, like honestly. Like you have to be very strong minded, strong willed because there are some days you go out on stories, you have a whole plan in your mind and that plan just changes into something else, but you have to know how to jump back quick on your feet and think quickly and have critical thinking skills and problem solving skills and stuff like that. So but yeah, I don't want to scare anyone. It's not all that bad. It's really it I say for me it gives me a good challenge each and every day and it challenges myself to say, "Hey, this is what we have to do. Let's get it done. Let's get it done effectively and in a timely manner." And I've been pretty successful thus far. What's today's day? I think it's been like 10 months now since I've been at WJTV. So the time has gone on by. And since I first started up until now, I've seen much growth. Just like you guys were watching my videos, I also go back and watch my own videos just to critique myself and to
Yeah.
see, how much progress I've made. But it's been pretty amazing. Like the journey has been beautiful. I haven't gotten to meet different people that 5 years ago, if you would have told me I'd be interviewing them or being a news reporter, I was like, okay, yeah, now you're pushing
Yeah, because you
it.
interviewed Benny Thompson at the Alcorn presidential
Yes.
inauguration. So,
And
it's not everybody can say they've interviewed a United States representative.
yes, yes, yes. And that was so unexpected because I actually had no intentions on covering this story at all. I didn't think that they would approve it at the station. But the morning of, they approved it. So I packed my car up with my gear. I headed down to Lorman. I was actually the only news station there, so I feel like I have bragging rights when it comes
Oh,
to that.
wow. Yeah.
Yes, and
And
I
that was a
turned
big deal.
that yes, and I turned that story, and I did not expect Representative Thompson to be there. So he ended up giving me an interview, and I definitely pushed record, and he talked to me.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think this is important because you talked about you packed your gear. So, at maybe some of the large cities, you have more people working, but you film your stories, you edit your stories, you write your stories, and then a lot of times after all that, you appear on camera to uh, to kind of narrate your stories. So, talk about that whole process because that is a big part of the television industry. You got to be able to speak, you got to be able to write, you got to be able to shoot, and then at the end of the day, when that light comes on, you got to be on camera. So talk about how all that goes together.
Well, big emphasis on multimedia journalists. So sometimes people get confused about the word multimedia journalist and reporter. They kind of both go hand in hand, but at
Yep.
some bigger market stations or what have you, the reporters usually have photogs with them, which is short for photographers. So basically, they carry around their own camera equipment. They get all the shots for them. They record everything for them, you name it. Versus a multimedia journalist, they're the photog. They're also the writer, the editor. Like they wear multiple hats, like I do. So, when it comes to toting gear, like you name it, when you see me out and about at different stores, 9 times out of 10, I'll have my camera and my tripod. Now, thankfully, I upgraded to a smaller, more modern day camera, so it's not as heavy. But when I first started, I had a huge, gigantic sports camera. Like the bag was so big, I probably could have gotten the bag and slept comfortably for like 2 days. But thank God I upgraded to a smaller camera. So yeah, anytime you see me, I have my camera and my tripod. Most times I go out on stories, people are like, "Oh my gosh, can I help you with that?" I'm like, "I got it." It's like second nature to me now. And some people are like, "Where's your cameraman?" I'm like, "You're looking at her." So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm responsible for going out and getting my own footage, recording my own interviews, editing my stories, my footage, all of that, typing up my scripts, sending my scripts back to the station for approval, and going live. Now, I don't always set up my own live shots. I'll have someone out there with me just for those few seconds. And I love to tell this joke to people. Um, People at home are only getting to watch like 30 to 35 seconds of my footage or my story. And that just took like 3 to 4 hours for me to get all of that information together and piece it together just so people at home can watch a fraction of all the hard work that I just had to do. So I love to tell that joke all the time because it's so true. Like
Yeah.
people don't realize what goes on behind the scenes. And I've done a come to work with me video once before on my reel, but I'm definitely I plan to do more in the future. So just so people can see the extent of like the workload that we have to do behind the scenes. So
Yes. Yeah, and now one really cool thing is, you have people all the time saying, "Well, that should be on the news." Well, this is a career where you can really highlight things of the community because you've covered a lot of things, and you're not really digging into those controversial stories that are causing polarization in the community. You cover a lot of things to highlight great things in the community that are going on. And you've covered everything from Alcorn to the reservoir to things in Jackson going on. So it really is a chance to highlight people in the community that need to be recognized. So
Mhm.
talk about how you decide what you're going to put on the air because while you want to highlight things, you want to also listen to your viewers because I always laugh about everybody's friend Rob J. He said when he first got on the TV, he didn't know about some of these sports, so he had to learn new sports. He actually said he bought a book about golf and he learned about NASCAR racing just so he could put it on TV because that's what his viewers wanted to see. So how do you determine what your viewers want to see?
And that's what I call dedication right there. I did not know that about Rob J. Um, well, I basically go based off of the thought of, okay, if I'm at home and I'm watching news every day and I'm seeing killings and crime and things of that nature, that can be kind of mind-boggling. So I kind of ask myself, like, what would I want to see on TV? What would I be interested in sitting at home watching this segment and seeing? So most times when I pitch stories, I love like community-based stories. I don't necessarily like to cover crime, but hey, you have to earn your stripes as a first year reporter. So you have to like certain things are like unavoidable. You can't, not go without covering it. And unfortunately, that's like one of the most um one of the most things that they would like to see or hear you pitch is just like hard news. That's what they could classify it as, hard news. But I like what they call fluff stories, like community stories, community driven stories, stories about people, stories that people don't really know about that you wouldn't even think to cover or think to see on the news. So I just like to get out there and like really dig deep and see what's going on. Talking to the people, hearing the people, what do they have to say about certain things? How do they feel about certain things? Um, yeah, like things like that is what brings me hope and joy because I feel like, okay, well, we're taking a break from all the crime and all the other things that's going on. We know that that's going on, but what are the things that we don't know that's going on, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, and that also it highlights small business owners. It highlights events in the community. And before we get done, we'll tell everybody how they can get in touch with you if they have any ideas, because you're always looking for things to cover.
oh yeah, for
Now,
sure.
before I get to the students' questions, I just think it's very important to understand how valuable, and I know I can speak for all other teachers that are going to see this, how valuable it is to learn how to speak and learn how to write,
Absolutely.
because kids get so upset when we make them present or make them do a presentation. And it's not to make people nervous, it's not to embarrass anybody. But I've known you for a long time, and I even noticed when you're on TV, you have such a professional sounding news voice because you've practiced that and you've practiced speaking and being articulate. And I was even laughing one time. I was like, man, she is talking so slow. But that's what you have to do to be professional in a professional setting. And then, like you talked about writing your script, even if you don't want to be a news person, you've got to learn how to write things and write things where people can understand them. So, talk about how important that is. And I know you always did a great job at it, but talk about how important that is coming out of college into a professional setting.
Well, I can say a lot of it has to do with like time crunch. So transitioning from a student journalist to a professional journalist, being a student journalist, I had way more time to get stories done, way more time to get stories edited, way more time to cut different takes of me doing my stand up. If I messed up, if I butchered the first one, I could do it like 10 times over because that's just how much time I had versus now, like I don't have that much time. Like I may have like a 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock deadline all coming up, and I have to be ready for all of those like beforehand. So it definitely deals with the time crunch because thank you for saying how beautiful I sound on the news, but there are some days where I butcher my stories. Like I stumble over my words and I'm like, oh my gosh, get it together, Brian. What is going on? But you just have some of those days, and I just tell people like all the time because my parents always get on me. It's like, you messed up. I was like, yeah, I did. And I was like, well, I would love to see you try to do it because it's not easy. And it's not easy. Like even the professionals, like they've been anchoring and talking in front of cameras, reading teleprompters way before longer than I have, and they also mess up as well. So that's why I don't beat myself up as much because I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm still human. I'm not a robot. Of course, I'm gonna mess up here and there. But as long as you get back up and learn from it and you continue to practice, you continue to talk to yourself in the mirror, or if you're just cooking breakfast one day, put on your news reporter voice. Okay, today we have eggs and bacon on the menu. Just different stuff like that. Different things like that to just kind of get the flow of it. But it's not always easy, but it's a good challenge. Very good challenge.
I do have some questions. I'll get to as many of these as I can. And I love this first one. This is Naomi Smith. She's in ninth grade, one of our basketball players here. And she
Hey.
asked, before Dr. Chrysler came up to you with the camera, did you ever have any other career plans?
That's a great question, Naomi. You said Naomi, right?
Yep.
Great question. So, like I said, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew it was something dealing with creativity. So, I know my first initial thought was fashion designer because I love fashion. Like I don't know if you guys can tell by my outfits that I wear on TV, but I love fashion. Very much into different styles and trends and colors and things of that nature. So that was something in the back of my mind. And who knows, I may go after that one day. Um, I loved interior design. I just all things design. I fell in love with the idea of just decorating like different spaces, turning plain spaces into like different ambiances and things of that nature. So that kind of fell through. But I wanted to be, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be. That's crazy thing. Like I said, if people would have told me like 5 years ago or right after high school that I would have been a reporter today, I'd been like, okay, yeah, no, probably not. But, I don't plan on being a reporter forever. I don't plan on retiring from it. But like I said, who knows? Um, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be. Like I modeled also. The extracurricular activities that I involved myself in was modeling at Hines and at Alcorn. So I really love to model still to this day. I don't have as much time to do it, but that was one of the careers that I would have loved to do as well. So but I'm a firm believer that if you're multi-talented and whatever you name it, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Multiple things. I know sometimes people say you need to pick one thing and stick to it. Absolutely not. I don't like that mindset. I really don't like that mindset. If God has blessed you with multiple talents and gifts, use all of them to the best of your
Yeah.
advantage. So,
Yeah, and I remember we actually had a conversation your junior year. We're on a TSA trip. We were sitting in Whataburger in Vicksburg, and you told me how you wanted to be an interior designer, and I thought that was great. And obviously, you've taken a different path, so that really shows how different paths can open for you. I just got time for two more. This is Ray
mhm.
Sean Williamson. He's in ninth grade, one of our football players, and he asked, "How hard was it for you to get comfortable talking in front of a camera?"
Well, I wouldn't say hard. I would say kind of difficult, just adjusting. I love to talk. Like if you know me, if you know anybody that knows me, I love to run my mouth. I love to talk. I tell people this joke all the time. When I was in elementary, I used to stay getting in trouble for talking too much. That's the only reason why I would get in trouble in elementary. So my folks and I knew whatever it was meant for me to do would involve talking. But I'm a comfortable talker. I would literally go up to strangers and like just start talking about history or whatever. So it was no problem with talking, but it was just knowing that, hey, this is a clean cut, clean take. You can't do this anymore. This is a one-time shot thing. You gotta nail it and you gotta get it right the first time. So, especially if you're live. So that's the kind of thing because sometimes I can overthink a lot, which I know most of us do. So I'll have this little Jiminy Cricket in my head. It's like, all right, you gotta nail it, you gotta get it right. And that kind of causes like a lot of bleep bloop bleep bloop in my mind, a lot of operating. And it's just kind of like, oh Lord, okay. And I start to get nervous and but I have to calm myself down and remember, like, hey, it's okay. Just breathe. Let's get it done and get it right. So I would just say find what makes you comfortable or what makes you happy. Think about that and kind of hold on to it and take deep breaths and you'll be fine. The nerves will go away.
And that's a great segue to our final question. And this is Rakia Jackson. She's in 10th grade, one of our cheerleaders here. And she asked, what would you recommend to someone that wanted to get into this career?
Well, I would highly recommend to always be yourself. Find your voice. How do you report stories? How do you tell stories? What kind of stories do you like to tell? Always identify that and hold on to it because most times you see so many other anchors or reporters or whatever, and they're like like almost the same, like carbon copies almost. So of course the word is going to continue to evolve and change and people are gonna want to see different, and you are different. You have your own unique characteristics and capabilities, and I feel like you should hold on to that because those are your prized possessions. So one, always be yourself, always be determined to get the job done. Be diligent, work hard in everything that you do, and every opportunity that you get, try to do your best because it may be your last opportunity or it may be your one opportunity where someone big is watching and who knows, another bigger opportunity may present itself. So
Man, tell
just
me
hold
about it. I've
on.
got so many stories
Yeah.
about that. Let me tell you. Well,
Oh yeah.
we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And I tell you this every time, but I speak for so many people. We are so proud to call you an alum of Velma Jackson, of all the great things you're doing. But before we go, a couple things. First of all, if anybody has any story ideas, how can they contact you at WJTV?
Okay, well, first I'll give you my email. That's as in doll, A as in apple, Banks, Banks, at WJTV.com. So that's like one of the main things or main sources of communicating that I use. I do have a personal cell, but I don't think I want to give that out right now. But I can give you my Instagram account, my journalist Instagram account, and that's D as in doll, EETELLS underscore details. See the double entendre there? Details, details,
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm following you, but yeah, you have a lot of great stuff on there as well, and that has a link to your WJTV page, which also has your information on there. But the last thing before we go, you know, this is a field that desperately needs more diversity. We need more women. We need more first generation Americans. We need more black kids to get into this field. So why should they really consider getting starting a career in television?
Well, I can say if you don't want to retire as a journalist or anything news related, it can open doors for you in other areas like entertainment, news, potentially acting, anything that involves screen time or television. It can definitely open the doors to that. So, for me, I know one day I am going to take advantage of my opportunities to get into other doors and make bigger connections with higher ups and things of that nature, and definitely find some other outlets and stuff like that because news isn't always easy. So I don't blame why people transition to different, places. But for now, I am gonna continue to be the news personality that I am and learn those skills because I feel like I'm learning more skills about the career and learning more things about myself and also basically just becoming a stronger version of myself. So whatever it is that I end up doing in the future, I know that what I'm doing right now is gonna help me with that. So
But they could also be the next Byron Brown or Melanie Christopher. So you never know.
mhm. Exactly, exactly. Or Maggie Wade, Howard Lee, who knows?
I
They're
was
gonna
just trying to
need
plug
someone to
I was
come.
trying to plug I was trying to plug your WJTVs, but yes,
Yeah.
Howard Lee, Maggie Wade, also unbelievable news people for decades here in Jackson as well. So again, Delesha Banks, 2019 graduate of Velma Jackson, graduate of Hines Community College, Alcorn State University, multimedia journalist with WJTV News 12 here in Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye bye.